before we, Councillor Blakely, just explain to you what it was. I won't go through it again, okay? Thank you. I will now continue moving where I was at the point where I asked the leader to introduce his paper. He finished. Are there any questions in relation to that report? Yes. Okay. Well, we've got 4 questions. I'll do it all at the latest first. So yes, please be answer statement.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a question for the Leader of the Council. Would the Leader of the Council agree that the report of the Corporate Peer Challenge team, following their return visit to the Council in May this year, was extremely positive and represents a valuable health check from external local government experts? The Council is on the right track in its improvement journey.
Councillor Roberts.
Well, they don't have to answer it.
No. All questions are asked first. Please follow the script. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question to the Leader of the Council is, will the Leader of the Council join with me in welcoming the announcement that Wirral was one of the 9 councils announced by the government for round 2 of the Whole Place Community Budget Pilots?
Councillor Gilchrist.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I ask the Leader about the combined authority and the progress on that, and what other work he has in hand to try to secure some additional European funding for our area based on his recent visit to Brussels?
Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's about corporate peer challenge, and I'd like to ask the Leader of the Council whether, in fact, in view of the alleged direction of travel of this Council, it is acceptable to get a piece of advice like this at the last minute as we walk in on a piece of paper that a motion has in fact been published in accordance with the rules of the Council.
Councillor Davis, would you like to respond to those?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, to Councillor State and the Corporate Peer Challenge report. Yeah, I do agree. It was very, I think, reassuring more than anything else that the direction of travel in the work that we've done around the improvement plan, pay tribute to my Deputy Leader, Councillor Blackwood, who's led the Council on that. They were extremely complimentary, and I think one of the pleasing aspects of the Corporate Peer Challenge team, because we had the report back from Rob Vincent, the lead member of that Peer Challenge team at the member development event for those members who attended. I know not everybody did. Was that it was a kind of think a sort of indication really of the focus that we've been giving to putting this council on a sustainable financial footing, making sure that the organisation development is on the right track, making sure that some of the issues to do with corporate governance were addressed, and I think they were also complementing some of the new thinking around constituency committees and the transformation change programme. Still a lot of work to be done. We accept that, but I think it was good that we had external recognition. And remember, there were member peers on that peer challenge team from all 3 parties, and I think they were unanimous in saying yes, we're always on the right track. And it was heartening for me to get acknowledgements of that at the LGA annual conference a couple of weeks ago in Manchester, where again I think Wirral was seen as leading the way in the whole kind of sector-led improvement model. So I think I'd like to say a big thank you to members, but also the officers for, led by Chief Exec, for the tremendous efforts that everybody's put in to moving us forward on our improvement journey. On the Whole Place Community Budget pilot, Councillor Denise Roberts. Yeah, it was very pleasing to get the announcement at the LGA annual conference. I'm really glad I went to hear that the Secretary of State announced that Wirral was one of 9 authorities who are in round 2 of the community community budget pilots. The initiative, I think, really does very much kind of play into our improvement agenda. I think there's some really interesting work that's been done by Round 1 authorities, Essex, Greater Manchester, the Triborough Partnership, and Cheshire West and Chester. And we'll certainly be learning from those Round 1 pilots. But what I think it does show is that those 4 authorities in Round 1, they're projecting savings of some £800 million over 5 years. So in terms of our financial challenge, which we're all, I'm sure, acutely aware of, I think it will help with that. I would like to see us focus on areas. I mentioned the constituency committees, which I think is a really exciting venture. You know, will require new skills really for councillors. The whole agenda around more integration between health and social care, and other areas that I think we can bring some really useful working on around the troubled families agenda. So we'll know more later this month. I think there's a meeting in London, but I think it was just great to get that again, national recognition that Wirral is getting noticed as being moving forward. So that was very pleasing. Councillor Gilchrist, you asked about the combined authority. Yeah, clearly this is a development that we've said that we in principle need to pursue. The government, as you know, in the line of the way time report no stone unturned about how we can achieve sustainable growth in this country. The government has said that the additional monies, and Lord Heseltine asked for 49 billion, George Osborne announced 2 billion over 5 years, so it was 5% of what Lord Heseltine asked for. Nevertheless, it would be, I think, remiss of us if we did not try to ensure that for the benefit of both the whole city region and Wirral, we didn't get a bigger slice of that particular cake as we can. And therefore, the combined authority, the focus, thinking at the moment is that we will focus on economic development, regeneration and transport, strategic issues that clearly cut across local authority boundaries. And I've seen some press reports refer to this as a super council. This is not kind of recreating Merseyside County Council by another name. This is on those specific areas where the government has made money available for growth. But I think it makes sense for us to pull resources. And the key thing for me is we need to make sure that we are lobbying government to devolve and decentralise more powers and resources from Whitehall to Wirral and to Merseyside. You asked, in terms of the timetable, just to make clear, we have to have an expression of interest into government by the end of July. We have to have our detailed proposal in September. I believe, and looking to the Chief Exec, that we will need a special council meeting ultimately to agree the bid that we put in, and that will also be the case for the other Merseyside districts. And then there's a parliamentary process that we need to go through, and the aim is to try and get this combined authority in place by April of next year, which will have a clear governance structure to it. Meetings will be held in public, minutes will be kept, etc. It will have a formal kind of legal entity. As I've said before, the 2 models that the government put forward around this to get to access this funding. One was the directly elected city region mayor, which I personally don't support, and the other one was the combined authority. I can see lots of benefits in going down the combined authority route. However, I'm happy to give members kind of the assurance that I've mentioned this to the 2 of the leaders on Friday at the Leaders Forum, that where we are at the moment, we've agreed in principle to move to this model. There's lots of work going on behind the scenes. Greg is certainly leading the work on behalf of the Merseyside Chief Executives to put the detail in place. And as soon as I've got something more substantive to bring to Council, I'm happy to share that with the other 2 leaders and members more generally. On the issue of European funding, yes, I did attend a meeting, a kind of delegation meet with Commissioner Hahn, who's the Commissioner in charge of structural funding, because the government recently announced allocations for the new European programme, and the allocations that they announced would mean, if they were confirmed, a 60% cut in Merseyside's European funding allocation for the new programme 2014-20. I think that is just not defendable. I really don't, given the importance of European Region Development Funding to many of our regeneration projects, Wirral Waters, and so on and so forth. So I am the lead sort of member on the City Region Cabinet for European issues, so I went with a delegation including the Mayor of Liverpool and the Arlene McCarthy, MEP for the North West, and there was a delegation there from South Yorkshire who were in a similar position. You know, it is not, I think it is not justifiable that Merseyside still has one of the poorest regions in the country. We are some 80% of the GDP of the EU average, and yet other more affluent areas are getting more money than Merseyside in the new programme. I cannot begin to understand how you can justify that, given our relative deprivation. The other thing I can't understand is that the government gave a safety net to the devolved administration, so they can't suffer a cut more than 5% of what we get at the moment, but we're unwilling to agree a safety net for Merseyside. So I think there are big questions that need to be asked about the methodology that has been used to agree this, and also I think it's kind of strange that European funding has gone to many what I would regard as being very affluent areas in the south of England, Hertfordshire, Berkshire, Thames Valley. I just can't understand how they can be getting substantial chunks of European money, yet Merseyside's funding is being cut by 60%. So the meeting was to make those points to the Commissioner. Reassuringly, and kind of quite heartening for me, sorry, Mr. Mayor, the Commissioner made it very clear that these funds that the government have announced have not been agreed by the Commission. There is a process of negotiation before they're confirmed. They won't be confirmed in November, and therefore, whilst I understand he couldn't commit himself in advance of the start of negotiations with member states, I think he saw that the kind of fundamental principle that the Commission hold dear, that your European funding should be based on your relative deprivation, has prima facie not been followed by UK government. So I think it's important that we keep the pressure up, and I make no apologies for going to Brussels to try and return millions of pounds of European funding to Merseyside. I think that's an important job that I do on behalf of the people of Wirral, the people of Merseyside. And finally, the final question from Councillor Harney. Yes, was it right that we got the advice so late on tonight? I mean, I think, in an ideal world, it would have been nice to have the advice 2 weeks ago. But, just in defence of the Chief Executive, I know you were, Graham, taking legal advice right up to the last minute. And I think it was just, pragmatically, I think he brought the advice just as quickly as he could. I think it was quite right and proper that there was an adjournment for members to properly digest that advice. I hope that you've heard that, but I think it was just a recognition of the fact that it was important to make sure we got the correct legal advice to report back to Council before we made a decision on the motion, which we'll be talking about later on tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council is now invited to note the report. Is that agreed? We're moving on to the Cabinet Member portfolio on adult social care. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. As Wirral's Carers Champion, I welcome the production of Carers a New Strategy for Carers for 2013-16, which you refer to in your report, and which is currently being consulted on. Can a Cabinet Member with responsibility for adult social care set out the overall aim of the strategy and the underlying principles of guidance?
12.5% of the population, which is well above the national average. About a quarter of these people provide over 50 hours of care a week, and about 1,500 are identified as young carers, and some of these are as young as 4 years of age. These figures underline the importance of having a strategy which is based on the principles of the national strategy for carers, but it will be informed by local priorities. It will build on the already established good work, identify gaps in provision, and inform commissioning intentions for the future to ensure that the right support is in place to enhance the quality of life for carers. It will do this by improving ways of identifying carers and helping them to have better access to information and support, and it will build stronger links with education and training to help these carers continue working if they wish to, and to have a life outside of their caring role, and will promote better working relationships with GPs and other professionals to help maintain and improve the carers' health and well-being. The overall vision for carers is that they'll feel supported in their role, feel valued within their communities, and have the importance of their role recognised by professionals. I look forward to bringing the results back. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The council is now invited to note that report. Is that agreed? Moving on to the Cabinet Portfolio of Central and Support Services. Are there any questions, Councillor Stevens? Councillor Green.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wonder if the Cabinet member could tell us how much or what justify why we're paying an interim head of ICT £16,000 a month, why we're about to spend a further 80-odd thousand on consultants, and why he's intending to replace the council's expense 5 Wirral Unison computers.
Councillor Joe. Sorry. Well, they ask the questions first, and then I will get the Cabinet member to respond. It was Councillor Joe Walsh.
Oh, thank you. I was trying to ask Councillor Jones, please tell us what happened with the forward to employ 8 apprenticeships and part-time teaching staff.
Councillor Rob Gregson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question relates to reports 1, 2 and 3 and to Adrian Jones. Microsoft assumes to stop supporting Windows XP. So why are we only now looking to invest so much money in the Wirral ICT kit when other councils do so after just 4 or 5 years? Also, by using this out-of-date apparatus, is there a security risk to staff or elected members who wish to use their own email systems when working from home? And finally, what steps are we taking to find other bodies to share services with?
Councillor Tony.
My question is for Adrian as well, regarding business process of our welfare reform. Can you please expand on the practical effects of these changes on family life and work?
Thank you very much. Well, may I say that Councillor Green's question is does rather overlap with the questions from Roger. There's a bit of history here, Jeff. I'm not sure how good your memory is. But the money that has been spent was voted in January 2010. At that time, of course, the Liberals had not yet popped out of bed into your bed. But I would have expected the Lib Dems to have, with you, in the year that followed, actually started some of the improvement work that's necessary in ICT, because the consequence of you sitting on it in 2010 is that most of our equipment is now 3 years older than it was then, and the dilapidation and the obsolete condition that it's in has worsened because of that delay. The cost of the expertise that we've had to hire is a bargain at the price, considering the dilapidation that you will contribute to. I'll give you a little bit more detail on it if I can find the notes of it.
Your expected answer. Well, just email your expected answer.
Please.
You see, quite apart from anything else, we are working, and one of the reasons why we have engaged somebody with the necessary expertise is that we're working with the Cheshire Shared Service project in 3 areas. Cheshire West and Cheshire have expertise in the implementation of social care systems. We have the objective of optimising services to clients in the most efficient way. I hope we don't think it's a bad idea to do that as well. One of the Cheshire West managers is now working 2 days a week with DASS and CYPD on planning of the implementation effort for our replacement social care system for its chosen. Wirral IT is also researching options to move our data centres out of the Treasury building. This is a very complex project, given that Wirral has some 320 servers and many very sophisticated systems. One option is to share Cheshire Data Centre in Chester. Half their building is empty and has the space to accommodate our equipment, but there are cost and communication issues to resolve, and they have to be resolved with the best possible expertise that we can have. Now, Jeff, I'm aware of what your attitude is to IT, because you made it plain in last week's Globe, when you seem to be arguing for us to ask our staff to return to some sort of system where perhaps they dip goose quills into an octopus bladder full of sepia and scratch their nose out that way. Well, we're not having it. As far as we're concerned, it's absolutely necessary for our IT to be up to date, the same as it is in other councils. Apart from anything else, the systems that we're using couldn't anyway go on before for only 2 more months, because in early 2014, Microsoft will discontinue their support for XP, and all of our kit has to be renewed, refreshed, or updated, so we can accommodate Windows 7 and the other more modern systems we don't have. So you're hard into the ground. You wish to conserve dilapidation, and we're conservative, so we shouldn't be conserving dilapidation. It's just something that we're not going to go for. I'll move on to the other question. Joe Walsh asked, what's happening about the proposal to employ agency? Well, that's in my way.
Councillor Green, Adrian Jones, opportunity to answer the questions. It's not the opportunity.
The answer to Joe Walsh's question is about the decision to employ 8 apprentices in parts of the countryside, is that they have been engaged, they've been through their interviews, all they need is to get their medical checks done, and we're then ready to employ them, probably on the same date, and it's imminent. I'm happy to say that of the 8, 2 of them are young women, so that's a very good indication of balancing of employment policy. Tony Aubrey asked me what the question on business processes. I have to say on that the government's welfare reform programme has seen a considerable number of significant changes, and the consequence of those changes in Wirral for many of our people are absolutely devastating. I don't think I really need to say what the effect is of the welfare reform bill, of the bedroom tax and all those things, because we see it all around us every day. If the Conservatives are not getting the complaints that we're getting, then it's probably because, and the Dems, it's probably because people who are suffering from the terrible hardship that's been inflicted on them by this government are far more likely to bring their complaints to a Labour councillor than they would to run on that side of the House. And I think that's enough.
Well, by surprise there, Adrian. I was expecting to call you. Thank you. And I would like the council to note that report. Is that agreed? Right. We move on then to the cabinet portfolio of children's services. Are there any questions to Councillor Smith? Wendy?
Mr Mayor, I note that in Councillor Smith's report, he tells us that of new referrals referred to a social worker during the year ending March 2013, over 80% were carried out within time scales. Well, during that municipal year, the Overview and Scrutiny Committee used to receive reports on two indicators. One was around the percentage of initial assessments within 10 working days. That used to be around 75%. And the percentage of core assessments within 35 days was at about 67%. Unfortunately, our recent Families and Wellbeing Policy Performance Committee didn't get any up-to-date figures. So, Mr Mayor, I'm asking Tony to tell me which of these indicators has increased so impressively to reach 80% by the end of the year. I would love to hear it's both of them. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Ron-Abbey.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Can I ask the Cabinet Member for Children's Services could you update the Council on the important issues faced by the children in care? Thank you.
And Councillor Tony.
Cabinet Member for Children's Services explained to the Council the new framework for delivering services to children, schools and families, please.
I invite Councillor Smith.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. First of all, Councillor Van Kenny, I haven't got the actual figures here, so I certainly would need to check out that. I'm surprised that you didn't get that overview of scrutiny. It should be, the performance indicator should be reported, and if it hadn't been brought to my attention, I certainly would have looked into it at the time, but I certainly will look into it now, find out why we didn't have that type of information. Thanks, Councillor Ali, for that question on safeguarding children in care update. Can I say that on this, I mean, it's a good opportunity really to be able to share this information with the full council, because quite often it's quite a small sort of narrow group of people that know exactly what is happening. And children in care are our responsibility as a council, you know, and they're the children that we have got the greatest responsibility for. And at the end of March 2013, we had 270 children receiving the report with the Child Protection Order, which is in line with the statistical neighbours. And we received over 3,778 new referrals during the year. And I'm delighted to say that 93% of those went on to be assessed by a social worker, with advice and guidance being provided to 77%. And over 80% of assessments were completed within time scale. I'm still, you know, 80% is still something that we need to improve on, and I'm quite conscious of that. And again, 482 child protection investigations resulted in 345 initial child protection conferences. I think it's important that all members are aware that what is happening in this particular area. So I was absolutely delighted over the past year to see what the Overview and Scrutiny Committee have been doing, chaired by Brendan Clements, and consisting of members of all parties, which I think is important as well. And that particular scrutiny committee is now come up with what I consider an absolute excellent report. Now, I've managed to sort of skim through the report quite quickly. I need to go into it in a little bit more detail. But my initial reading of the report is that it could even have national importance, because children in care is one of the big issues for the care for the coalition government. And the work that's been done in this particular authority by the elected members from all parties is an excellent piece of reporting. It's something that's gone on in children's services over the years, and I'm glad to see that tradition has continued with that. So thank you again to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and I hope in the next sort of month or so that all members of the Council will be able to see that particular report. The third question was from Councillor Norbury, right, yes, and Councillor Norbury, I think, was question related to delivering services to children, families and schools. Again, can I just say that's a question that a number of people have raised with me. Again, people who perhaps are not on that particular committee, but are interested in what's happening in schools, what's happening in families, and what's happening with children and that. And as you can see from the report, we now have come up with the new organisational arrangements in this particular area. I'm glad to say that the service that we have come up with, which is a universal service which will provide 4 statutory functions in respect of schools through the training services, admission transport, and 14 to 19 services. I think one or two councillors did raise with me the issue about how we sort of getting away from schools and perhaps looking more at social care and that. No, there's a big emphasis on what is happening in our schools as well as what is happening in social work and that. So it is delivering services to schools, children and families and that. I'm also delighted to say that over the last 12 months, when we actually looked at the service, we want to make it more efficient, more effective, and I'm delighted to say that last year we were able to make over 11.5 million savings. Now, that's, for me, the most important thing was ensuring that the quality of the services continued, the excellent services that we always have in regard to children and families and that. And I'd also like to report to Council that this year we're looking at continual savings and looking at the more effective service for children. And we are on line at present to make about 6.3 million savings in that. I want to be able to come back on a regular basis, so I hope people will ask questions about exactly where we are going in this particular area, because it's important for all council members to be involved in what's happening for schools, children and families. It's in my opinion, it's one of the most important areas that council should be involved in. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Sorry, before I go on, could the response that you sent to Council Trent be recorded to all members of the Council?
I will circulate, yes.
Thank you very much. The Council is now invited to note the report. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. The next one is in relation to the portfolio on the economy. As we know, Pat Atkinson sent his apology. I will be asking the leader of the Council to respond in absence. So, are there any questions in relation to that? Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Clearly, I'm disappointed that Councillor Hackett isn't here, but delighted that the Council may be able to answer my question. It's in relation to page 50, and it's concerning the local development framework. Leader of the Council, I was interested to read that outstanding issues relating to the gypsies and travelling communities are ongoing, and hence made me think really that given that the dips in my ward are often frequented by our travelling community, I'd be more than interested to know what thoughts perhaps the administration may have on the development viability for that particular area, whether that be for travellers or, as Councillor Hackett is quoted in the local press as saying that it will be inevitable that it will be used as car parking area to facilitate clearly, as we're all pleased to see, the growth in the number of people visiting Wirral. However, I would ask the leader of the Council if the administration
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The portfolio held comments on the £5 million regional growth funding awarded to Wirral to develop the offshore wind sector based in Canada.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to leave the council comments on the significance of the announcement that Wirral secured £5.5 million Liverpool infrastructure funding to enhance the infrastructure of the Wirral water transfer.
Yes, first of all to Councillor Rennie. Local development framework, my understanding is that we are on the process of producing a draft local development framework which will be out for consultation very soon. We need to agree it in the early part of next year. That's going to include a full needs assessment. I actually think, from my recollection, when I was cabinet member for regeneration, it's actually central government that are requiring local authorities to make sites available for gypsies and travellers. So, the pressure is coming from national government. I, at this stage, do not want to commit myself to saying that we will definitely develop a site at the dips for gypsies and travellers. I think what we need to do as part of the consultation exercise is to hear from all shades of opinion within the community. You've given one view, Leslie. I've heard Pat Hackett's view. I think we need to use the consultation framework as a way of generating that debate. And clearly, the local development plan will not be finalised until the spring of next year. We need to take into account all views before this council makes a final decision. With regard to Jeanette's comment on regional growth funding, I think the 5 million that has been announced for the offshore wind sector is really welcome. 3/4 leaders were at Canada last Friday, and we saw the fantastic things going on in the yard, particularly in terms of the opportunities around offshore wind. I have to say, I'm slightly frustrated that at the moment the actual manufacture of the turbine sector is being done elsewhere in Europe, in Germany, and then it's transported all the way to Canada for it to be finished off. There's no reason at all why Canada, we were told, can't actually do the manufacturing of those turbines, which would obviously bring in a lot of additional investment and jobs. And certainly I've made representations to Michael Fallon, who's the Minister within Business Innovation and Skills, to make sure that government are doing everything possible to enable Canada to bid for those contracts that enable them to actually manufacture the turbines in Wirral and Canada. But there's no question about it that this will, it's already providing large amounts of employment in the yard. The actual regional growth funding is for a offshore wind supplier park that will serve that industry, and I'm told that due diligence has just been completed and we are about to award the first contract to a business to go on to the supplier park. So that's great news for Wirral, great news for Canada, because it will mean again more jobs in that business. And I'm also really pleased that this sector, the offshore wind sector, will be a major focus of the International Business Festival, which will take place next summer, jointly hosted by Wirral and Liverpool, and the Camel and Mersey Maritime will be a key sector that will showcase the best of what is done in both Head and Wirral in that sector. So that will really give us an opportunity to promote our work in that sector. So hugely important for the future of Wirral. And then finally, Stuart has asked about the local infrastructure funding for Wirral Waters. Yes, I was pleased that we had the announcement last month of 5.5 million from government to help prepare the infrastructure for the Wirral water site. site, linked to residential education and the approaches to the International Trade Centre in the Beaufort Road and Portland Bridge Road. So it is welcome funding, and I just want to pay tribute actually to the team led by Ken Natalie for the fantastic work that they have done together with Peel and our colleagues in China, bringing much needed new investments into Wirral, where we're expecting the International Trade Centre to start construction at the end of this year, beginning of next year, and that will generate some 2,000 jobs for Wirral. And then finally, we've also got a big opportunity around an automotive supplier park on the old mobile site. Again, there's significant interest in expressed by various big automotive companies to be part of that. And again, I think that will generate significant job opportunities. So in the teeth of what is still a very difficult economic